In the fabled land of Northern California, nestled in the Valley of Sacramento, two friends begin a journey to enlighten the world about their experience living life as a Xennial. But what is a Xennial, you may ask? If you wish to know, then follow them on their adventures.
Welcome to the Xennial Chronicles. This is James.
This is Mike.
And today we will be talking about the thing we promised last week for those people who actually listened to us last week.
We mean we're actually we're following through on something?
Yes.
Wow.
Dude, I have great follow through. I love the silence there. That's amazing. Anyway,
I didn't know how to respond.
no. What we're going to be talking about today is one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
I know one of Mike's favorite actors.
Yeah.
In fact, if I'm correct in this, he may actually be the star of Mike's favorite movie.
Very much so.
And that is, of course, the great Kurt Russell.
Yes.
And interestingly, Kurt Russell, by his age and by when he was born, is technically a young boomer.
Yeah.
But that just means that for our generation,
he was like 60s. He's in his 60s.
He was born in 1951.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's kind of young boomer, almost into Gen
coming
Xer.
up on. Wow, no, he's coming up on 70. He's 68 years old.
Yep, he's coming up on it.
Wow.
And so for me, my father is around that age. Mm-hmm. So for me, Kurt Russell was somebody that I could see as a contemporary of my father as I was growing up.
Yeah.
And interestingly, while he would be a contemporary of my father, so is Ozzy Osbourne, of all people.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah. But Ozzy Osbourne was actually born in the exact same year as my father. He's the exact same age as my father.
Whoa.
Really weird. I don't think my dad would have hung out with Ozzy. And see, this is what
they were from completely different countries.
Not even that, just the type of people. And this was kind of something that sparked my interest in doing the Kurt Russell thing. I don't know if I mentioned it last podcast, but I know I mentioned it to you personally. Kurt Russell just always seemed like the type of guy, even as an actor, whatever movie he was doing, he seemed like the type of guy that if you were, 6-year-old kid and you walked into your parents' garage and your dad was hanging out with somebody drinking a beer, Kurt Russell seemed like the type of guy that would literally be found in somebody's garage drinking a beer with them.
Yeah, he would walk up, grab another one, open up a lawn chair, and just chill.
Yeah, he'd just sit down and chill and have a beer and have a good time. And
he just kind of comes off like that.
Yeah, and like other action and film stars of the time.
Such a weird reason.
No, but this is. To me, it makes him approachable because if you look at other action film stars at the time, or even just film stars at the time, somebody you couldn't imagine Sylvester Stallone sitting and having a beer in your dad's garage.
Chuck Norris, JCVD, they're not
Tom
the same.
Cruise as another example of even a working actor now. You don't see those people just sitting and having a beer with your dad.
That's true. Kurt Russell, distant.
Kurt Russell could have a beer with your dad, and it would totally be right. You could totally get that.
It would make sense.
It would make complete and utter sense. And my dad is a fan of Kurt Russell to some degree.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of what kind of I was watching a Kurt Russell movie, Stargate, and it kind of was like, you know what? Kurt Russell has just been kind of an actor I've always kind of connected to and felt like he's just even though he was born into a family of actors, he just felt like just a normal dude, a dude that you could just sit and chill with and be okay with.
Yeah.
And there's even some film roles of his where he exemplifies that, and he's like the perfect guy to do it.
Yeah. It really I'm going through a couple of the films. I figured that what was our
well, we're going to talk about each of our 5 favorite films of his.
Okay.
But also kind of just talk a little bit about the movies that he did. Not everyone through his life. We're not going to go through a full retrospective, but more of the stuff that happened while we were growing up.
Okay.
More of the stuff that would have affected us.
Yeah,
I'm sure you've never. I may not be sure. Have you ever seen his portrayal of Elvis Presley in the TV movie, the Elvis TV movie?
I did not see him in that, but there are definitely 2 other films that I know of that he has done.
He does the voice of Elvis in Forrest Gump. He's not the actual physical model of Elvis, but he's just the voice.
He's not the physical model.
No,
of
he's
Elvis?
not the physical model of Elvis.
Oh, I thought he was.
He's just the voice. And then. Are you counting 3,000 Miles to Graceland as him being Elvis? Because he's technically
he's an Elvis impersonator.
He's being an impersonator in that.
Yes,
but
I count it.
So isn't Costner in that too?
Yes,
that's a weird movie. I think
wasn't Costner also an Elvis impersonator at one point?
I don't remember.
I think they both were.
I don't remember for sure, but I know Kurt Russell was, and Kurt Russell has done the voice multiple times.
Yes.
In fact, in one of his more recent movies, he actually has an entire music number. And
Oh, wow.
You can tell he can pull off an Elvis voice if he wants to.
Wow,
Sing
okay.
it. Yeah, he's still in his late 60s, putting it down, singing hard.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's a good music moment.
Wow, okay.
And he's belting it. But no, he's just an actor that I've always felt a bit of a connection to. He's one of the actors that I know my father has a big connection to. I mean, not his favorite for sure. John Wayne has always been his favorite. But more importantly, he's an actor that is, I think, redefined certain genres and brought genres back into the fore that kind of disappeared. I mean, you think about it, the film industry itself really started big with Western movies.
Yeah.
Westerns were kind of it was easy for them to film them because the backlot was literally just drive a couple miles into the desert and you could film whatever you wanted to back in the early days of Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And it really helped to start a lot of those film studios having those Western movies. And there have been some great Western movies done over the years and great Western directors. I mean, the great John Ford, the great Sergio Leone. And there are some movies that I think stand out as some of the greatest Westerns of all time.
Yeah.
And I believe Kurt Russell's, the main Western that he's in, one that I know for sure we're going to be talking about, mm-hmm. is one of those movies that really stands as, at least in our lifetime, probably the best Western ever made. And
yeah,
definitely
I would say so.
within most top 10 lists of best Western ever made.
Definitely, absolutely.
But I want to start with some of his early stuff. I can say that Kurt Russell did a lot of, for my research, he did a lot of early TV roles, different episodes of different TV shows. Part of that because his father, Bing Russell, was a film actor. He did a lot of Western movies, interestingly enough.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
He did a few with John Wayne. Apparently he's in...
Oh, nice.
According to...
It's almost like anybody who did Westerns did a Western with John Wayne at one point.
There's some interesting...
He was like the Western guy, period.
For the most part, but there's some interesting names that really work with John Wayne. I love bringing into knowledge the fact that James Caan, one of his first early movie roles, was in a Western with John Wayne. It's my favorite John Wayne... My favorite John Wayne Western, not my favorite John Wayne movie.
Okay.
I don't know. I do love McClintock, and I don't know if you consider that a Western or a comedy. I consider that more a comedy, even though it's in a Western setting.
Look, you're talking to a guy who considers Blazing Saddles to be a Western.
To me, that's a comedy. It's not quite. It's a
parody of Westerns. It's a parody of Westerns, but it's still technically like I would consider that like a parody of action movies is still technically considered an action movie. You have to have that element has to exist in order for it to work.
I get you. So like like Hot Shots, you still consider an action movie. Up
to a point, maybe not Hot Shots. Hot Shots is a little far, but let's say that I would consider a lot of Jackie Chan films to be parodies of action movies. It's a parody. He does parodies of kung fu movies. They're incredible action, but they insert comedy in a functioning atmosphere. So it just
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying on this.
That's the way that Blazing Saddles works too. It's somewhat the same, but it's still at its core, it's still a Western.
So then I'll say that this movie I'm speaking of is tied for my favorite Western with or John Wayne Western with McClintock, and that would be the movie El Dorado.
I am not familiar. I haven't seen it.
It's actually a remake of an earlier film, Rio Bravo, which also starred John Wayne.
I did not.
Same director, John Ford.
Well, okay, so the same director and John Wayne. Did he play the same part?
Interestingly, no. In the first movie, Rio Bravo, he plays the drunk. Dean Martin plays the not drunk. And
what?
And hold on. I know Dean Martin, the not drunk. And then Ricky Nelson, was in the movie and played basically the James Caan role that happens in the next one. The next one, El Dorado, John Wayne is the non-drunk. Robert Mitchum is the drunk. And James Caan is the young guy involved, again, same as the Ricky Nelson role.
Really?
It's a slight rewrite, but they're basically the same rough story patterns.
That's very interesting.
Oh yeah, it's watching the two movies is kind of hilarious to watch the two and see the similarities in them, and they're again roughly the same story.
Yeah,
there's some changes and some differences. Ed Asner's in El Dorado as well, by the way. He's the bad guy.
Oh, that's cool.
This is a great movie.
Man.
Ed Asner, Robert Mitchum, James Caan. It's a great film.
Yeah.
Great film. Great cast. But anyway, digress. This is the type of movies I grew up on. But Kurt Russell, again, his father Bing was in Rio Bravo, the first one.
Yeah.
That's where that line of John Wayne thought came in. But he was Hollywood royalty. He'd grown up within the Hollywood system, just like his kids would, and just like somebody like Carrie Fisher grew up within the Hollywood system, that kind of stuff. So he got a lot of TV roles. Dick Powell Theater, Dennis the Menace. I mean, I could list a whole bunch of things, but the key thing is his first actual feature film role. His first feature film role was in a movie called It Happened at the World's Fair in 1963. He was 12 years old at this time.
Wow.
Probably 11 when they did the filming, but 12 when the movie came out.
Okay.
He has a bit part in this movie, and it's a movie that takes place at the World's Fair, hence its name. It happened at the World's Fair. And in this bit part, he runs on screen and kicks a guy in the leg and then runs off screen. The guy he happens to kick in the leg is Elvis Presley.
Shut up.
Who's starring in the movie, yes.
Oh, that's great.
His first film role, he runs on screen and kicks Elvis Presley in the leg.
That's fantastic.
It is. So he spent his teenage years doing a bunch of films for Disney, of all things. Disney, we've mentioned before, Walt Disney had some major kind of, connection to Kurt Russell. He absolutely loved Kurt Russell in everything that he did. And the last thing he wrote before he died was Kurt Russell's name on a piece of paper.
That is so weird.
It's like Kurt Russell to him was like the perfect actor or the perfect whatever. But you have, I think the most well-known one is the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes in 1969. That's a pretty well-known Disney movie that he did. He went through a long series of those in the 60s and the 70s, bunch of different movies. But like I said, I want to focus more on the movies that happened kind of during our lifetime. Okay. The ones that would have affected us. Because, again, you probably wouldn't have seen all of these, right?
Right.
And again, the Elvis one, you may or may not have seen his performance. But the first one that really falls within our lifetime of childhood, that's a recognizable one, is voice work that he did, again for Disney.
Yes.
He is the voice
of with us.
Copper the Hound.
Yes.
In The Fox and the Hound.
Yep.
Copper is an adult, not as he's a kid.
Okay, speaking of which, on this, speaking of this film, have you ever actually read the original Fox and the Hound?
Oh, it's been a long time.
I am shocked how vastly different it is. It is a whole different story.
Oh, I'm sure they cleaned it up a lot to make it easier for...
Oh, no, they completely changed it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Copper, the fox in the book...
Copper's the hound. Todd is the fox.
Sorry, Todd is the fox. Todd is the fox. Copper the hound in the book is actually, if I remember correctly, Copper the hound in the book is kind of shunned as a dog.
Okay.
And almost is a protege, but his the rivalry between Copper and Todd is really it's so weird. Like Todd is actually
have to read the book.
Yeah, I went on Wikipedia and I went on Wikipedia and I read the synopsis of the book.
Okay, so you actually read the book itself.
I have not read the book, okay, but I was just out of morbid curiosity because my wife just picked up a little backpack. These special Disney edition backpacks by, I can't remember the company. It's a leather backpack. It's really nice, and it's got a print of the Fox and the Hound.
Okay.
And, the line, we'll be best friends forever on the inside of the back of the backpack. Yeah. Very cute. But it's also an extremely sad story in the Disney version. Well, it is way worse in the book.
The Disney version, I still remember... I don't necessarily say I can remember the exact first time I watched it, but I remember the childhood thing of when the old lady, I can't remember her name, leaves Todd in the forest and drives away, and he's all by himself, and it's just like that abandonment crap. It's
Todd is actually in his Todd in the book is actually a fox that just. They continue to he continues to keep getting away from the hunter, and Copper is a dog that has a severe rivalry with an older dog.
Yeah,
that
which
ends
they do
up,
have
the dog
extent.
they have it up to an extent, but the dog what's the name of the dog that breaks his leg? After he gets hit by a train or something like that, he's trapped on the train tracks.
It's in the book. I don't remember, or it's in the movie. I don't remember.
That dog is hit by a train and falls off a bridge and dies in the book. But that is when Copper eventually becomes the head dog of the pack.
Oh, so there's even a pack.
There's a small pack of dogs. It's a small pack of hunting dogs owned by the hunter. This story goes over the span of like a decade, where a small city gets built around. It's due to infrastructure building.
Oh, so that's a whole different thing.
Basically what happens is the forest forest is basic that the fox lives in. Todd lives in. It gets chopped down, essentially. And
okay, hold on.
Yeah,
I think we should give people the opportunity to read the book.
Well, I'm not going to give everything away, but basically, it follows the story of a fox that constantly becomes trouble for this hunter and the dog. But the dog and the fox are both. They have this continued chief rivalry between them.
So they're like frenemies,
sort of, but not really. What happens around it is. It's more of a commentary on cities and how they affect wildlife.
Okay.
Actually, what happens is Todd the fox stays in the area while the city is being built against what the rest of his pack and the animals do. They run away. They go find new homes. They run out, and he becomes a pest to the city, and Copper and the hunter are sent off to go hunt Todd down as the city has been built up around them. It's a whole different story, and it takes place over like 10 years worth of time. Disney
definitely changed that thing up a bit.
Very much so. It's really interesting just to the dark overtones of the book is much more of a social commentary on how cities affect wildlife. Yeah, urban sprawl and how it affects wildlife and like all this stuff. It's so fascinating.
So deeper than I thought. I mean, I was just I'm just thinking about Kurt Russell as the voice of Copper, but way deeper than that.
Yeah, sorry. I just happened to look it up this weekend just for the heck of it, and it really
just happened to coincide with us talking about Kurt Russell.
Yeah, totally.
How the world works.
Right.
But that would be our first real introduction probably to Kurt Russell's voice.
I would say.
But not necessarily his appearance. The next big movie that he did was probably one of the most classic movies ever made in the 1980s. Escape from New York.
Oh, man. You know what?
Which actually, funny enough, his character of Snake Plissken is actually, he has said that is the favorite character he has ever played.
Oh, that's fun.
He loves that character.
Now, I am going to make a confession.
Uh-oh.
I have never seen Escape from New York.
I've seen it once.
I have seen
You've seen
parts
Escape
and pieces
from LA,
of Escape from LA.
Yeah.
I've seen parts, and
which we'll get to in a
one
minute.
of my favorite video game characters and video game franchises is based on this.
You're a Metal
Gear
Solid fan.
Yes, the Metal Gear Solid series. It's funny because he calls himself there is a load of games. It is a large, convoluted storyline, but
huge.
the big hit is called Metal Gear Solid, which is actually the third game in the franchise.
Yeah,
but the character Snake is actually he's called Solid Snake, has a twin brother called Liquid Snake, but his character is specifically based on Snake Plissken.
Yeah, with the eye patch and everything.
With the eye patch and actually. No, that's the original Snake, Naked Snake.
Really?
Who becomes, he ends up getting the eye patch.
So
he is the character of Big Boss.
Oh, okay.
He becomes a character of Big Boss. There's a huge convoluted storyline. Maybe we'll go over it at some point. It is
maybe I'll let you do
very interesting and very hokey all at the same time.
I may let you do a full knowledge
the character development is
that.
fantastic. But one of my favorite parts of it is in the sequel. There's Metal Gear Solid 2, which came out on the PlayStation 2. Snake is a secret side character. Spoiler alert, I guess, for a 20-year-old game. He calls himself, as a code name, he calls himself Iroquois Plissken in the game, which Iroquois it means snake. The word Iroquois is native. It's not just universal native, but the Iroquois tribe is based on the word Iroquois, which is snake.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I thought that was fantastic.
That's good. So after Escape from New York, we have The Thing, which literally probably one of the best horror movies, and more work with John Carpenter, who directed Escape from New York. Directed The Thing as well.
You know what? As you go over these films, I am very
Well, you're thinking about, damn,
I missed a lot of Kurt Russell movies.
Okay. Well, here's some that I've not seen and don't know anything about. This starts in 1983, a movie called Silkwood. Then in 1984, Swing Shift. 1985, The Mean Season. 86, The Best of Times. None of those movies I can say that I've seen. If I have, I don't know that I've seen them.
Okay.
But then we come to the other affair from 1986, also I believe a John Carpenter film. Mm-hmm. Big Trouble in Little China.
That's John Carpenter?
I believe so.
I did not know that.
Director John Carpenter.
Son of a gun. And now that is my introduction to Kurt Russell. My personal way. That's most people's introduction to
Big
Kurt
Trouble
Russell,
in Little China.
Especially of our generation. I would assume it came out when we were kids.
Yep.
Like we were going to watch The Thing when we were like 3 years old.
Unless we walked in on our parents watching it or something. And,
oh, man.
And that was better than some of the things that we may have walked in on our parents watching. So, I mean, But yeah, the thing is one of those movies. I've seen it once and I won't see it again because, dear God, that movie is scary. Even with better effects that we have nowadays. Actually, the better effects that we have nowadays make it easier for me to watch stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I watched the second of the new It movies with my wife, and that's supposed to have all the scary creature effects in the end and stuff. And I was laughing the whole time watching it. There was nothing scary about it whatsoever. But The Thing, that thing was the movie The Thing was downright frightening. That crap was scary.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Big Trouble in Little China, one of our first introductions to him. The character of Jack Burton is just who doesn't love the character of Jack Burton? If you don't, I don't need to know you. Next movie he would make in 1987 would be a movie called Overboard.
Yes,
this is a movie he made with his then live-in significant other, Goldie Hawn. First movie they made together. They'd been together, I believe you saw earlier, 1983 is when they got together.
Yeah.
And they are still together to this very day.
Yeah.
Not married, though. Interesting note on that. Uh-huh. He's been asked about why they haven't married or when they're going to marry. And he has one response to that every time he's asked.
What's that?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That makes sense.
Which, again, sounds like sounds exactly like what the dude who's sitting having a beer with your dad is going to say.
Totally.
Next would be the movie Tequila Sunrise.
I'm not too familiar with that one.
Kind of a cop flick. I know it was really big for a lot of women to watch because there's a couple of nice naked from the rear shots of the male actors, and it's an 80s thing, Mel Gibson showing his butt.
Butt shots in the 80s of male actors was like the way to go.
Yeah, they don't.
A lot of people did that.
For some reason, the doing the crotch shot was not considered artistic, but the butt shot was artistic, and women drooled over it. So I mean, whatever. Then you had a movie called Winter People. And then, this is funny, I was talking to my wife about this last night and about the fact we were doing the Kurt Russell movie, and I was trying to go over movies in my head. Mm-hmm. She asked me, what Kurt Russell movies are there? So I'm listing off different ones. And I'm like, okay, I think he was in Tequila Sunrise. And she's like, okay. I said, I also think he might have been in Tango and Cash, but I don't know. He's in one of the two. Well, he's actually in both.
Yeah, he's in both.
And I was like, oh, he's in both of them. Tango and Cash.
Yep.
Another one with, by the way, naked butt shot from behind. Seriously. The reason I know this is because I had somebody in my household who enjoyed seeing the naked butt shots from behind.
That makes sense.
Yes, my mom loved those. Good to mention her today. It's good to mention her today. Anyway, next movie he would do, Backdraft.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Interesting. That one is actually directed by Ron Howard. But I want you to think of the cast of Backdraft.
Okay.
Actually, I'll go into the cast of Backdraft later.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later. So next we have a movie called Unlawful Entry. Not familiar with that one. Guessing a police drama of some type because he plays a cop pretty good.
Right.
Captain Ron.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I remember
Captain Ron.
I had the pleasure of seeing that in the theater.
I think you've mentioned that last week.
A friend of mine had a birthday party, and for his birthday party, they want or his or hers. I don't remember. I actually literally do not remember which friend it was. I just remember whoever it was, they wanted to have the birthday party at the theater watching Captain Ron. And Captain Ron is not necessarily R-rated comedy, but it's PG-13. It's salacious enough that a bunch of kids probably shouldn't be watching it in the theater. And I'm sure the parents were embarrassed. It's better than watching Cool World in the theater.
Okay.
which I also did.
Oh, man.
Yeah, when it first came out, so I was like 12 or 13 when it first came out, and my one of my brothers took me to the theater to see that one.
Well.
Thank you, Joe. I know you were embarrassed. I wasn't, but I know you were. Yeah. So, I mean, that a little bit better than that. Then we have a movie called Tombstone, whatever. Next movie would be Stargate, the one that actually kind of started this ball rolling for me
to
have this discussion.
Okay.
Watching Stargate kind of made me think about this, and I do like that movie. And think about the fact that how many TV series did that movie start? There were like 3 or 4 Stargate TV series.
I only knew about the first one, and I stopped paying attention.
Well, because this is where I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. I'm into that stuff, into sci-fi stuff. I'm not that into sci-fi stuff.
Okay.
I know the Stargate stuff, the Stargate things exist. You and I discussed the fact that MacGyver, the guy who played MacGyver, Richard Dean Anderson, plays the same role roughly as what Kurt Russell played in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's like literally the only thing that we've discussed when it comes to. That's the only thing we know about it. So
that's pretty
kind
much
of the only
it.
thing we want to know.
Yep.
We have Forrest Gump next, which again he was just a voice role of Elvis Presley in that. Didn't have a physical role. And then we get into the time when we're teenagers, which I think gets us even closer to some of the things that we've seen. Executive Decision.
Didn't see that one.
That one is most famous to me for the fact that Steven Seagal was like major in the advertising from that movie.
Right.
This is a movie where there's an airliner that's hijacked and they use a stealth bomber to sneak onto the airliner.
Oh.
They have a tube that attaches to the airliner to sneak onto it. Mm-hmm. Kurt Russell's like a businessman, I think, that's on the airliner that has to help him out. John Leguizamo's in it. But the big thing was they were selling it as a Steven Seagal movie. It's like, what is it? What's the one where he does the boat, where he's on the boat? He's the cook on the boat.
Under Siege.
Yeah, it's like Under Siege on a plane, right?
Yeah.
But what happens is, as they're trying to get onto this airliner from this stealth bomber thing, they're in the tube.
Uh-huh.
The tube gets detached and Steven Seagal dies in like the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Shut up.
No, seriously, it was so great. Back then it was like such a big deal that he was such a big part of the advertising campaign.
Oh
and
my
he dies
God.
20 minutes into the movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's great.
I never wanted to see it because it was just like,
now
I don't want to see a
now
Steven
you wanna,
Seagal.
Now you want to see it.
I definitely want to see it.
It's so great.
You just sold me.
It's
my
so great.
God, that's fantastic.
But after that one comes Escape from L.A., the long overdue, 15-year long overdue sequel to Escape from New York, which had a whole bunch of Escape from New York. The only way I can describe Escape from New York is to say that it was very much like a Blues Brothers movie.
Yeah.
In the sense that you had a ton of, even Escape from New York, there was a bunch of cameos in it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Escape from LA, a bunch more cameos playing different parts in it.
Okay.
Just really weird movie in that way.
Okay, cool.
The other movie, Breakdown, which I forget, I've seen it, but I don't have good memories of it.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
Soldier.
Okay, I've seen Soldier, and I remember liking it, but I was also like,
It's standard.
13.
It's standard late 90s action fare. Interestingly, it's him fighting against Jason Scott Lee.
Shut up!
He's the
no
older.
way.
He's the older soldier, and Jason Scott Lee is like the newer model, and so he has big fights against Jason Scott Lee.
Man,
yeah.
All right, I gotta see that one again. Just for that.
And then he had a couple year hiatus and was in Vanilla Sky. Tom Cruise
film? The one that was
all trippy weird. It's a remake of a Spanish film.
Yeah, called Open Your Eyes. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trippy weird ass film.
Yeah. Penelope Cruz was in both of them.
Cruz is in both of them.
Yeah.
Interestingly, you see the beginnings of the idea for the hologram technology of hologram performers. Mm-hmm. Steven Spielberg is at his house for his birthday party, and they have a hologram performer performing.
Oh.
So this is one of those moments where you actually see technology in a movie and it really comes to life later.
Wow.
It's very interesting in that. But he's the psychiatrist that's trying to talk to Tom Cruise's crazy character in it. And he's technically he's not even really a psychiatrist, but because he's not, I don't want to say anymore because that's one of those movies you really don't want to destroy for somebody.
Plot twist. He's Kurt Russell.
No, he's not. Next movie would be 3,000 Miles to Graceland, where he plays.
Yes.
He's an Elvis impersonator with a group of Elvis impersonators that are pulling off a heist.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting movie, to say the least. Interstate 60, Episodes of the Road. I have no idea what that one is. Dark Blue, that's a police movie. Miracle. He's actually in a Jiminy Glick movie, of all things.
Oh, Lord.
Which makes sense. I mean, he's got friends in Hollywood. Then you have Sky High.
I don't even know that one.
Sky High is a Disney movie. It's about a world with superheroes and the high school that superheroes' children go to.
Oh, yeah. I remember. I remember hearing about that one. That one flopped, didn't it?
For the most part, theatrically and commercially, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's the father of the main character.
Cool.
He's a super strength hero, and his son is not yet showing powers at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. I remember hearing about that one. I remember wanting to see it, but I remember it flopped pretty hard.
We'll talk about it in a bit. Then there's the movie Dreamer, inspired by a true story. So this is one of those, that I think the mid-2000s had a lot of these. Remember the Titans? Where you come out with all of these true stories that are trying to motivate people.
Inspiring sports films.
Yes. You have a remake of the Poseidon Adventure just called Poseidon, which he was in. And then we're getting to the more modern stuff that the younger audience might have seen him in, the Grindhouse movie, specifically in the Death Proof segment. Beautiful car, by the way.
Yes.
Such a great car. And of course a foot moment, which is a movie called Cutlass.
Didn't see that one.
Touchback, another sports movie.
This is the large block of time where I didn't really get to see anything.
Yeah. The Art of the Steal.
Nope.
Although, great character name, Crunch Calhoun.
Jeez. Okay.
The Hateful Eight, where he...
That one I saw, and I absolutely
broke such an expensive guitar. Oh, my God.
I'll tell that story.
We've told that story.
Yes.
But you can tell it again if you need to. Furious 7. The Fast and the Furious movie. Yes, he's in the Fast and Furious movies now.
This is the Furious 7. That's the one... after Paul Walker died, right?
That's the one that he died during.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Bone Tomahawk, another Western-y movie. I've not seen that one.
Don't know that one.
He plays a sheriff in that.
Cool.
Deepwater Horizon, the biopic about the oil rig in Gulf of Mexico.
That one had...
Mark Wahlberg's in that one, too.
Wahlberg, yeah.
Fate of the Furious, same character.
Okay.
And then Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as the Living Planet Ego.
The Living Planet.
Christmas Chronicles as Santa Claus.
Yes.
And then he's actually in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Who does he play?
Randy Miller is the character's name.
I don't know who that is.
But I mean...
I still want to see it. I want to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay. You can report back to me on that one. And then a movie called Crypto.
Okay.
Where he plays Martin Sr. And apparently they're making another Christmas Chronicles. Yay. That was good.
Of course they're making another Christmas Chronicles.
That's just kind of an overview of the movies that happened in our lifetime, what we would have seen him in, what would have, kind of colored our opinion about him. And it's not a whole lot because he had a lot of appearances before we were born and a lot of things he was involved in. But still, those are some movies that a few of those movies are really ones that stick. In fact, I'm pretty sure that our 5 favorite movies, each of ours, comes from all those movies I just listed.
Well, didn't you list every movie he's been in since the 80s?
Well, yeah. Which, like I said, they'll be our 5
by
that
default.
we like. unless you like The Computer That Wore Tennis Shoes, unless that's one of your favorite Kurt Russell movies.
Never seen it.
But
heard about it?
Moreover,
heard it's good. Never seen it.
I probably gave away a few of mine. But when we come back from our break, we will talk about our 5 favorite movies. Are we going to go in ascending order? Where we do number 5 first and then all the way up to 1?
Yeah, let's do 5 to 1.
I like that
5,
idea.
5, 4, 4, 3, 3.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Something like that. All right, we'll be back in a minute.
All right.
Hey friends, this is Mike from the Xennial Chronicles reminding you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Xencron, spelled Xenchron, to keep up to date on all things TXC. And please check out our official website, theXennialChronicles.com, or if that's too much to type, Xencron.com. Thanks again for listening, and now, back to the show.
Welcome back, everybody. We are now having the rest of our conversation about Kurt Russell and the movies that we love that he's been in. So, Mike.
Oh, we're moving on to a top 5 then.
Well, we've done all the movies. We've listed all the movies.
We have.
Now
we choose which ones.
Yes, which ones mean the most to us.
May the best man win.
I mean, okay. It's not that kind of a competition. I'm pretty sure our number 1 movie is the same number 1 movie.
Yes, it is.
I'm like 99% sure it's the same movie.
I know.
So, let's start with our number 5 movie. I'm going to go first. Okay.
Okay.
At least on this one.
Okay.
Only because I have a surprise for you with your number 5 movie. Okay, my number 5 favorite.
You know my list, and I don't know your list. This is bullshit.
I only know 2 of your lists. I know your number 1, and I know your number 5.
Okay.
That's it. So my number 5 movie of Kurt Russell's, at least from my personal enjoyment, is the movie Sky High.
Okay.
And while it was a critical flop and a theatrical flop,
and this is one that I missed entirely. So
it's actually a really fun, kid-accessible superhero movie. I'm talking young kid accessible. Now, the superhero movies I've talked at great length about how much I love the MCU, the Marvel Universe. I have my Avengers hat, which I have worn on and off throughout the year.
Of course,
I'm very much into
new
comic
year,
book
new hat.
movies.
I'm seeing, by the way, with his plaid Niners hat.
The football season's over, so I can start wearing my 49er gear again. So I'm getting the 49er gear back out.
Oh, that's
my
right.
superstitious
That's right.
crap. Okay. Yes, I'm superstitious. Yes, I know it doesn't mean anything, but I do it anyway. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
I'm big into comic book movies. I'm big into superhero movies. I love those. This is a kid-friendly. It's its own universe. It's its own separate thing. It's a very, very kid-friendly superhero movie.
Cool.
It still has some interesting themes.
Cool, man.
Kurt Russell's performance in that, as he's playing a dad. His son is the product of 2 superheroes. Oh gosh, what's her name? John Travolta's wife. I can't think of her name right now.
I don't know.
Kelly Presley, I think, maybe. I don't know. Anyway.
Kelly Preston?
Maybe.
I don't know John Travolta's wife's name.
Well, you should. John Travolta is angry with you now. But anyway.
Oh, no. He's going to send L. Ron Hubbard after me.
But he's dead. Kelly Preston, you were right. She plays the mom. And she has a superpower of flight. He has the superpower. Kurt Russell's character has the superpower of strength.
Okay.
And their son is going to attend Sky High, a school for superpowered individuals. It's literally floating in the clouds.
That's awesome.
And he's not shown up any powers yet at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, okay.
Because they come usually within the teenage years, kind of as the hormones are going.
He's
the powers
a late
come
bloomer,
out.
let's say.
Actually, he's specifically called a late bloomer. Amazing performances by Cloris Leachman in the movie. She's the nurse of the school.
She plays the school nurse. That's great.
Linda Carter is the principal of the school.
Of course she is.
Yes. And then a couple
I really want to see this.
A couple of young actors in it. Michael Angranero is in it. He was actually one of the guys who was originally up for the Anakin Skywalker role, interestingly enough. Danielle Panabaker. Let's see here. Stephen Strait, who was in the 10,000 BC movie. I don't know if you ever saw that one. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is in another superhero movie that just came out.
Oh, cool.
She's in the Harley Quinn movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Bruce Campbell, who doesn't like a movie with Bruce Campbell in it.
Who does he play?
He's the PE teacher.
Of course he's the PE. This is the best cast, I swear.
He's the PE teacher. His name is Coach Boomer, and he has sonic powers.
Of course.
But it gets better.
This is fantastic.
Dave Foley from
Kids in the Hall?
Yes, Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall.
Yes.
He's one of the teachers. In fact, he teaches the sidekick class. He used to be Kurt Russell's sidekick. Kevin McDonald, also from Kids in the Hall, plays the science teacher, Mr. Medulla.
Oh man, come on, man.
And so it's Tom Kenny's even in it. I didn't realize Tom Kenny was in it. And then
SpongeBob.
Patrick Warburton is a voice in there.
I have to see this.
You have to see it. It's a kids movie, completely kids movie. But Kurt Russell is fantastic as the frustrated father wanting his kid to kind of live up to the certain expectations and having to realize that his kid may not live up to those expectations and being okay with that.
Yeah.
And so it's great, fun film, really fun film.
Hell yeah.
And it also has the whole idea that sidekicks don't necessarily have to be sidekicks. They can be heroes in their own right.
Dig it.
And so really good, uplifting, fun film. But that's why I like it. It's one of those that you can watch with the kids, you can watch with the family, and just have a good time watching. You don't need to think too deeply about it. You can just enjoy it.
Hell yeah.
So what's your number 5, sir?
My number 5 is a movie that I saw as a kid a long time ago. Actually, a few different times because it's funny as hell. Overboard.
And my surprise for you on that is actually my number 3.
Nice.
Overboard is my number 3.
Okay, we'll go over it when we go over the number 3.
No, go ahead and talk about it now.
It's been years since I've seen it. I just remember, I don't know, there was some strange amount of a strange amount of relatability to it.
The characters, the way they
poor
do
family kind of stuff, but obviously, it's like the whole fish out of water tale, except rich
you have
mom
the fish,
with amnesia.
you have the fish out of water tale.
Right.
But I think what's nice about it is what we see in this that we don't necessarily see in a lot of movies, and especially in more modern movies.
Right.
This is really a slice of normal people. This is the movie that gives me that idea that
Except for the fact that you completely scam over a rich person.
You're scamming over the rich person. But what I'm more talking about is Kurt Russell's character in this, the way he dresses, the car he drives, the house he lives in,
right.
the way he acts. He just looks like just some normal guy that's going to be hanging out at the bar. His best friend in the movie is a character actor from the 80s that nowadays when you have the best friend of the lead character in the movie, he's kind of pretty looking, and this guy just looks like some ordinary schlub. Just some ordinary guy.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's just his big thing that he accomplishes in the film is building a miniature golf park. They put together a miniature golf thing, and that's like his big major accomplishment.
Yeah.
And it's not like a really good one. It's like a backwoods Oregon miniature golf park. But it's for them and their community, it's good. And it's like it's normal people accomplishments. It's not like to me, like you say, the relatableness.
Yeah.
These were just normal people these are people that we would know. You could run into in the grocery store. You could see going to school with those kids. You know what I mean?
Now I will be real about this. This is one of those comedies that did not necessarily age properly.
Oh no, it doesn't age properly when you're dealing with the whole misogyny and all of that.
Right, in many instances. So take it with a grain of salt when you see it. There's obviously a certain amount of comedy that's very tongue in cheek.
There is a remake of it with Anna Faris.
Yeah, it is. There is a gender swap remake. Now here's the deal. The problem that I have with it, and yes, there's a lot of misogyny in the original film. But the biggest issue that I have is the fact that they literally this is Stockholm Syndrome, the movie.
Oh yes,
really bad. It's and I call it one of my favorites because it takes such a disgustingly bad idea,
and
it turns it into a lighthearted comedy.
Yeah.
It's just there's something that's so strangely dark about it, but they literally take somebody who is knocked out and experiences amnesia. She's a total bitch.
Total.
But that's the point. They're trying to paint her as badly as they possibly can.
So that when she gets...
And then when he kidnaps her after she's passed out.
Basically, yeah.
And she wakes up in bed at his house with multiple children, and she has no memory. Yeah, dogs, everything. The whole place is a complete mess. And all of this stuff going on, and then on top of that, he gets his friends in on it.
Yes, he has himself, his kids, and his friends lying to her, saying that she was his wife, and these were her kids.
And then she has to learn how to love somebody that kidnapped her, and then at the end of the film, that's what she ends up doing.
Yeah,
she ditches her life that she had.
Well, she doesn't. She ditches the people in her life because technically, I don't know if you remember. She does all the money.
Yeah,
it's hers. It's not her husband's.
Oh, that's right.
She has all the money still. She just doesn't. She just doesn't leaves the original husband and the family and all that. But she still has the money.
Come on, that would not, and that's not even that would never happen. That is a terrible thing to do, and that outcome would get multiple people. That would get his kids arrested.
Here's the funniest part. The reason this is my number 3 is because I watched it a bunch as a kid.
Yeah.
Because one of my mother's favorite actresses, and again, I feel glad being able to talk about her today. One of my mother's favorite actresses of all time was Goldie Hawn. She loved Goldie Hawn back when Goldie Hawn was on the TV show Laugh-In.
Yeah.
She's a huge fan, partially because I will admit Goldie Hawn at that time was one of the biggest stars that was a redhead. And my mother had red hair. So that helps with the identifying of it.
Yeah, I get it.
But she always had a real affinity to Goldie Hawn. Like that would be if she connected herself to any actress.
A redhead?
Yes, naturally she's a redhead. She's a natural redhead.
She's been blonde for a long time.
She is a natural redhead.
Wow.
And so she's been connected to Goldie Hawn for, ever, at least while my mother was still with us. Mm-hmm. Goldie Hawn was like her favorite actress, real connection to her. So that's why we watched that movie as often as we did. It was just, she loved Goldie Hawn in it. And my mother, being a very staunch feminist, loved that movie. So, I know the weirdness of the world.
That is a little twisted.
The weirdness of the world.
Yeah.
But, that's why it's my number 3.
Okay.
So, that would lead me into my number 4.
Yes.
Backdraft is my number 4.
Okay. Backdraft is one that I constantly heard about. I've heard it is a great movie. I've never seen it.
Here's the deal with Backdraft. It's all about the cast.
Right. Who's in the cast?
Well, I mean, one, it's directed by Ron Howard. It's one of the early Ron Howard movies.
Yeah, you did mention that earlier.
But the cast is amazing for Backdraft.
Okay.
So you have Kurt Russell.
Okay.
Scott Glenn.
Not familiar with Scott Glenn off the top of my head.
You remember Hunt for Red October?
Didn't see it.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of other things that you would know Scott Glenn.
There's a lot of large hit movies that I was either in high school and just concentrating on other stuff. And
so for those who do know Scott Glenn, I believe it's Billy Baldwin in this one.
Okay.
Of the Baldwins, I think it's Billy. Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Okay.
Robert De Niro. Yeah, it was Billy. It was Billy Baldwin. Robert De Niro, Donald Sutherland.
Cool.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Wow.
Jason Gedrick.
Don't know him.
Speed 2 and also Iron Eagle.
Didn't see either of those, but okay.
Man, we got to get you an 80s refresh on movies.
Okay.
But it's a firefighter movie.
Cool.
And in fact, Kurt Russell plays 2 parts. He plays his main character's father and the main character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just has a very short scene as the father.
Cool.
But this is a movie that just almost got me into wanting to be a firefighter. I think during the time that this movie came out, my brothers had actually one of my brothers had actually just been involved in being a volunteer firefighter where he lived.
Cool.
And actually, Kurt Russell's performance in this was very reminiscent to me of kind of how my brother's attitude was at that time. Just kind of the kind of stoic, kind of, man of few words type thing. My brother was young. He was only, in his early 20s at that point in time. But it just had some reminiscence. And then, of course, as a kid, I associated firefighter, that kind of thing.
Cool.
But yeah, it's just a great, and it's definitely a B movie. It's definitely not like the super high quality. But what's neat about this movie is the promotional poster for this movie ended up being used as the picture that goes on firefighters' license plates when they want to have the firefighter picture. That silhouette of a firefighter with the fire behind them.
Really?
That's from Backdraft, the promotional materials from Backdraft.
I did not know that.
Yeah. But amazing. Robert De Niro, amazing part in there. Donald Sutherland's part. Donald Sutherland is an arsonist that's in jail. And he's actually having a parole hearing. Robert De Niro is an arson investigator who goes toe-to-toe with him at the parole hearing to try to stop him from getting released, saying that no, he's not mentally stable enough to go back into society. He's still an arsonist that will burn everything to the ground. And so you have batshit crazy Donald Sutherland squaring off against Robert De Niro in a
fantastic.
B movie. And it's only one scene, but it's like it's just an amazing scene.
Yeah.
And Robert De Niro's character he's wearing a latex back piece that shows that his entire back has been burned. His character's back has been burned from being involved in fires. That's why he's an arson investigator.
Wow.
So there's a lot of depth to this movie. Very good movie. Again, a B movie, but still great movie. Great kind of twists within the plot.
Yeah.
And because it's not just a fire movie, there's a little bit of a mystery murder plot going on within it.
Oh, cool.
So really good film. Love it. Watched it many, many times. And yeah, that's why it's number 4 on my list.
Cool.
You're number 4, sir.
3,000 Miles to Graceland.
Oh, you like that movie?
I do. It's fun. It's camp. It's kind of cool plot twist. And I just love the aesthetic of it.
I only saw it once, so
I've seen it about 3 times. And every time, that's 3,000 Miles to Graceland is one of those movies that from back in the day, if you were just flipping channels and it happens to be on, you're going to sit and watch it for a minute. Okay. And then you're just going to accidentally watch it all the way through to the end because you start to enjoy it without realizing
and
it.
be like, oh crap, it's over.
Yeah, it's total camp. It's total camp, but it's just one of those fun movies,
I'm going to have to watch it again.
Fun, action-packed kind of stuff. It's cool.
I'm going to have to watch it again.
And the dynamic, to be completely honest, the dynamic between Costner and Russell is fantastic.
It's not surprising. There are a few roles that Costner is great in.
Yeah.
And he's another one that I could see sitting in your garage having a beer with your dad. Seriously.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's got a little bit of that flavor.
Yeah.
Of course, he wasn't one that liked to show off his butt. He hired a butt double. in the one movie scene where he was going to show off his butt.
That means that there was a butt shot that was in the contract, and he was like, no.
No, seriously.
Yeah,
yes. I know. You know what movie it's from?
Dancing with Wolves, right?
No.
Really?
No, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh!
There's a moment where Robin Hood's coming out of the water
and
Maid Marian sees him in the swimming hole.
Butt double,
They hired a butt double for that because he didn't want to do it.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, again, 80s movies with showing men's butts. It was a thing.
Yeah. I had to put that thing in the paperwork, man.
In fact, they even parodied it in the I think the first the Loaded Weapon movie with Emilio Estevez, and he comments on the fact that it's his butt, not a butt double. So anyway, so okay, we already talked about my number 3, so let's talk about your number 3.
Hateful Eight.
Of course, I knew it would be.
The Hateful Eight's going to be my number 3.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell the story. I am not telegraphing it to do this, but The Hateful Eight is a fantastic film. It's very, it has that classic, not like your classic spaghetti western style. It is much more in the vibe of Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Well, that's a spaghetti western. Like literally,
yes.
No. The good, bad, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and a fistful of dollars are literally the example of spaghetti western.
Okay, so I would
because
consider
those are Sergio Leone's
I consider those to be relative outliers
those are
from
the
standard western category. They're not like your westerns that were on television. Midday that your grandma used to watch.
Yeah, they're not like
that my grandma used to watch.
Yeah, they're not like your John Wayne, more John Wayne.
They're
westerns.
not a John Wayne style western. The spaghetti westerns are very minimalist.
Yes, that's that's actually more of the
pacing is slower, but it's dramatic,
yeah.
And it's even though there may be action there, and obviously there's going to be action in the western, but it's not this. It's not, person A v person B and their continued standoff until the two of them have a shootout. Like, that's not what it is. The stories tend to travel. This story does not do that. But this is very similar to it's Reservoir Dogs meets The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly in one story. A multitude of characters.
All in one location
where their backstories tend to tie them together to this one location. The location is not what you think it is. It's just so well done. And it's also, Ennio Morricone actually did the soundtrack to it. He did the score.
Which is fantastic.
The theme for The Hateful Eight is one of my favorite Western themes ever. I wouldn't necessarily say it is on par with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but it's damn close. It is damn close.
Okay, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that now.
It's such a good minimalist theme.
But I have personal feelings about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly theme.
Uh-huh.
And it does not do with Westerns.
Right.
In fact, I remember watching I think I was watching TV a couple months ago, and a Modelo beer commercial comes on, and the music starts, and I'm looking around wondering where the crowd is and wondering what chords I'm going to hear first, because that has now become, to me,
yes,
that's Metallica's opening music.
Absolutely.
When I hear that music, Metallica's going to come on stage, and they're going to just completely destroy my ears.
Yes, absolutely.
And
as well they should.
And make my heart amazingly happy.
Yes. Very much.
So I mean, there's that, but
the opening of it is this theme is simpler. There's less notes in it, but it's also way more tense. It's so continually tense, and you hear it at the beginning of the film.
Well, that would make sense with kind of
that is it. And there's like practically no music that happens in between. I think there's just a couple of little things.
Yeah, that would make sense with what happens.
It's just
the movie.
It's his execution and his composition is absolutely fantastic, and it adds so much to the film. And that's just the music.
So
I'm
what
not
about
talking
Kurt Russell's role in the film?
All right.
Because that's what we're using it as, not just. I mean, I know that when we discussed Quentin Tarantino's films,
yes,
you had to do a pretty good discussion on The Hateful Eight, because this is one of the Tarantino films I have not seen yet.
It is one. Yeah. Okay, so Kurt Russell in the story, it opens up with Kurt. Actually, it opens up with Kurt. I believe he is a bounty hunter.
Which, by the way, I do want to make the comment. All real facial hair on Kurt Russell for that movie, and epic as all hell. Being a bearded man myself, I bow down to the epicness of that. Of
that guy's got a mustache like for days, man.
I cannot pull off the mustache that he pulls off in anything,
dude.
But then
him
have a
and
mustache
Sam Elliott
and the beard,
are the top two mustaches in Hollywood.
I mean, the beard that comes with that in that movie is just he's got facial hair that that's worthy of my salute and my respect.
So if I remember correctly, I can't remember if it's Kurt. No, I believe Kurt's a cop, and I think Samuel L. Jackson plays a bounty hunter. But I can't put my finger on it right now, but I know that one of them is carrying I believe it's Jennifer Jason Leigh, and she's a criminal, but
second movie that Jennifer Jason Leigh and Kurt Russell been in together. Interesting.
Yeah. So
on our list anyway.
All right. So at one point, what happens in the middle of the film is Jennifer Jason Leigh's character is playing a guitar. She's playing an acoustic guitar. And I've told this story before. I'm going to tell it again. It's a classic Martin. It's supposed to be an old Martin guitar because Martin was around making guitars. C.F. Martin was around making guitars at the time. He started the company around that time. And it takes place around the 1880s, 1890s. Yeah. So now, Quint is very much a stickler for time period accuracy when it comes down to the environments that these films are in. So he rented, I believe, I don't know if it was rented or lent. I believe it was rented from the Martin Museum of Real, 1891, Martin D28 acoustic guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Or D18. I think it's a D18.
Old vintage guitar.
Old vintage, like, original guitar. And they had a duplicate made of the guitar because there is a point in the film where Kurt Russell's character just loses his shit because of the tension that's happening. The house that they're in gets snowed in, and they're trapped inside of it.
Yeah, and it's just
so
not
it's
a good
taking place
situation.
in the deep winter, like out in the Ozarks somewhere, and the house is snowed in. And so what ends up happening is Jennifer Jason Leigh's character is playing the guitar, and she's singing, and she's not doing very good at it. And Kurt's character loses his flippin' mind, and he grabs the guitar and smashes it. Well, there was a bit of a snafu on set where when they were filming the scene, Jennifer Jason Leigh, you see it in her face when Kurt grabs this guitar, because
like a look of horror, basically.
It's a total look of horror because one of the guys in charge of the props,
they didn't switch out the guitars.
They didn't switch out the guitar. So when you see him smash the guitar,
it's the real guitar.
It's the real Martin.
It's not the
It's
fake
an
one.
1890s real Martin that he smashed to absolute pieces. Her face is just like, oh my God, what have you done? Everybody stops. Quentin's like, cut. What the fuck? Kurt's like, what? He's like, that was the actual Martin. And Kurt just was like, oh no, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's looking at him like, what the hell's wrong with you? We were supposed to swap it. And everybody but Kurt knew. So it wasn't the fault of Quentin knew, everybody knew, and he grabbed it and smashed it because he thought it was the replacement and didn't realize it wasn't.
Yeah, that's...
So, Kurt obviously paid off Martin for that, as far as I heard.
But that just shows him definitely into character and into what he's doing.
And Martin Guitars, Martin Guitars has swore never to do that again.
Yeah, we ain't lending you our vintage guitars anymore.
Yeah, you're like, we're not doing it for any company, any film company
we
ever.
We don't trust any of you.
You can make a copy of our stuff.
This is why you can't
care.
have good things.
Yeah, exactly.
Kurt Russell is why you can't have good things. That's, and again, I know your love for that movie. I have not seen it yet, but it makes sense.
It's very violent and to the extreme that you would expect a Quentin Tarantino movie to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but it's a fascinating film. I thought it was great. And I personally I would recommend it. I would recommend it to anybody who's ever seen any of his films.
When Quentin Tarantino does, almost all of his films are homages to other type of films, and when he does it, like I've watched a bunch of World War II movies. Mm-hmm. Hell, I watched multiple times what's considered one of the greatest World War II movies of all time, in Saving Private Ryan. Mm-hmm. And people were commenting on the opening scene of that, the Omaha Beach scene of that, and how violent that was.
Yeah,
man, just watch the freaking theater scene at the end of
Lord.
oh God, I can't think of the name of the movie now. The Quentin Tarantino one.
Yeah, it's the freaking
Inglourious Basterds.
Inglourious Basterds.
When they shoot up Hitler at the end of that, they just destroy him. They turn him into a hamburger, and you're watching the entire thing happen.
Like his face.
Yeah,
you see it happen to his face.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
on camera.
That's Tarantino's version of it. But actually, funny enough, part of Tarantino's thing is his stuff all happens in one continuity of universe. Mm-hmm. So it's been theorized that the ultra violence that you see in Jackie Brown and in Reservoir Dogs, in Pulp Fiction are as a result of that happening to Hitler at the end of World War II and what would have happened with that kind of ultra violence being prevalent in society.
That's funny.
So, just funny little note on that.
Well, I do know that some of the films that are in his universe are films that are also films that are in the other universe. So he's got a universe within a universe.
Yeah.
And some of those films that came out are films that came out within those universes. It's very meta the way that they put it together. It's and the storyline is convoluted, and there's a lot of characters related to other characters.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's the fact that his character, Michael Madsen's character from Reservoir Dogs, is related to John Travolta's character from Pulp Fiction.
Yes, and also there's a Jewish character in the more recent film that's also related to Donowitz.
Yeah, from Inglourious Basterds.
Donnie Donowitz, and I believe that's another character in Reservoir Dogs.
Okay.
So one of them is last name Donowitz, and it's Donnie Donowitz, the Bear Jew.
Yeah.
And Inglourious Basterds is his grandfather.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a few of those.
Did you know you originally wanted to get Adam Sandler to play that role?
Yes.
They were too worried that it would be too funny.
I think you told me that.
Yeah. But anyway, we're not talking about Adam Sandler. We're talking about Kurt Russell.
We're talking about Kurt Russell.
So,
okay. So we've gone to 3. Yeah. Number 2.
Should we say it at the same time? Because I'm pretty sure it's the exact same movie.
That means our 2 and our 1 are the same.
Yep, number 2 and number 1 are probably the same.
All right.
This is why we're friends, bro.
Number 2?
Right, bro?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Right, bro?
Totally, dude.
Thank you. So, number 2 is
Big Trouble in Little China.
Yep. Had to be. Had to be. Gotta love that movie. I mean, first of all, the fact
Jack Burton says.
Exactly. The Jack Burton character. That's 1. 2, as a kid.
Yeah, that character is freaking perfect.
And he's great because he's not really heroic. He does what he has to do, but he runs away from stuff all the time in that movie. Like bad things are happening. He's just like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
And
that's what it is he's believable because he's what you would do in that situation with extreme strokes of luck throughout the entire thing.
There's some moments where he's like, okay, I'm in. And then like, oh, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm getting away from this damn thing. and you have the mixture of it. It's an action movie, but it's also kind of sort of a kung fu movie. And then it's you're dealing with Asian deities that are shooting lightning and fire at people and growing to gigantic sizes and wearing baskets on their head. How many times did you put a freaking laundry basket on your head pretending to be one of those
lightning
dudes? Lightning guy, and just like do with your hands and ha.
Everybody,
I mean, seriously.
And everybody knows that character is what Raiden from Mortal Kombat is based on. So that's the first thing
technically Raiden is based on an actual deity named Raiden, and that character is Raiden in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yes, that character is
I did not know
Raiden.
that.
Yeah.
That's
brilliant. He's supposed to be the avatar of Raiden.
You know what? I should start a petition right now. Get Jack Burton in Mortal Kombat. How killer would that be?
I mean, does he have the option to run away?
Totally.
But I mean, you have actors like Victor Wong. He's the short Asian guy that's got the magical abilities.
Awesome. Yeah,
he was in a bunch of movies in the 80s and just great.
The Chinese swordsman. Yeah, dude.
Oh, no way! I didn't realize that. I'm about to show my wife a character from an actress from the Grey's Anatomy TV show.
Huh.
Major character from it is in that movie.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, you have they're listed as thunder, rain, and lightning. But they're based on those deities?
Yeah, I did not know that.
They're based on Asian deities. But let's talk about, if we're going to talk about anything from the movie other than Kurt Russell, let's talk about James Hong as Lo Pan.
Oh, yes.
This is James Hong.
Oh, yes.
Most people know him now as either, mainly known for his voice acting. I mean, he's the.
But every time you hear him, you're like, oh, it's Lo Pan.
Yeah, well, he's the. For me, it's like Kung Fu Panda because my kids have watched those so many. He's the duck dad of Kung Fu Panda. he's the duck dad, and so you're listening to him talking. It's like, all I can think of is that's Lo Pan.
I always liked the fact that he was, and I don't know how panned it is. I liked it. I enjoyed it when it came out. Lethal Weapon 4.
Oh yeah,
and he's the.
Is he in Lethal Weapon 4? Yeah, he is in Lethal Weapon 4.
He's in Lethal Weapon 4. It's fried rice, you plick. Yeah.
That's not James Hong. That's a different actor.
That's a different actor?
Yeah, it's a different actor.
The same freaking voice.
No.
It's insane.
No.
Oh, no.
It is a different actor.
You're right. I
James
completely
Hong,
messed up.
One of his more recent movies where he was live action in was actually a really bad Ryan Reynolds movie, R.I.P.D.
Oh, he's in that?
He's the physical.
You know what? I want to see that.
He's the physical avatar that Ryan Reynolds goes into when Ryan Reynolds is dead and he has to go into a body.
I have to see that now.
Yeah. You only see him in that avatar a couple of times.
I love him in.
But no, he's kind of that Asian.
Who am I
grandfather.
mixing him up with? I've got to know who I'm mixing him up with. That's gonna bug me.
I will find out in just a moment for you.
I feel like a jerk for mixing him up, and I got to know who that is. Why?
That was Lethal Weapon 4, right?
Yeah, Lethal Weapon 4.
I'm finding him. But no, we're it's just Kim Chan is the actor's name. That was Uncle Benny?
Yes, Uncle Benny.
Kim Chan.
What else was he in?
I will find out.
Why am I mixing him up?
But the beauty of that movie though, of Big Trouble in Little China, is just the fact that it's like it's an American fairy tale with undertones from other cultures.
Yeah.
But it gave a kid like me and probably a kid like you, Kurt Russell was like our introduction in that movie. Jack Burton is our introduction into martial arts movies.
Yeah.
He's totally out of his element.
Yeah.
And he acts like he's out of his element.
Yeah, that's...
And all these people are doing martial arts all around him, and he's loving it, but like he's totally out of his element with it.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of,
I wonder if it's like a giant metaphor for Asian film culture in America.
Maybe. This other actor, he has a small part in Shanghai Nights. He's he's Jackie Chan's character's father.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't think you've. Interestingly, he plays another character named Benny Wong in The Corruptor.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see. Lethal Weapon 4. Yeah. Kundun. He's in Kung Fu: The Legend TV series. He was in 54 episodes of that. He's
that's why
the Ancient.
It's The Legend Continues, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I recognized him.
Okay.
That's why I recognized him.
That would be. That's why I mentioned it because I'm like, I'm pretty sure.
That's where Carradine plays Kane's grandson. I think.
Yeah.
In that one, and that's right. That's okay. Now I remember.
Yeah.
That's why I mixed him up.
That's why you got him. So, but no, as far as that's like I said, that to me, that's where that movie, the Big Trouble in Little China, that's where it draws you in.
Now you're thinking about it. Yeah, you're right. It's like all this unfamiliarity, trying to navigate yourself through it.
We've discussed before. This was the time in the 80s when we started being able to see all of these martial arts films. Mm-hmm. We had the white guys being in the martial arts films like Chuck Norris, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
And this was like, and hey, he's got a bit of a mullet. Kurt Russell's got a bit of a mullet going on for the Jack Burton part. He's wearing cowboy boots over his jeans, mind you, over his jeans. He's a truck driver, so he's an all-American dude.
Right.
And he's been thrust into this kind of Asian culture thing that he doesn't completely understand. There's a lot of respect in it, but there's a lot of also weird stuff going on, and he's doing his best to fight through it. But like, it gives us that window in. It gives us that experience. He is us dealing with all of this influx of stuff, and it's kind of cool.
His surprise, what the hell is that face that constantly happens in the film is also very entertaining.
Such a surprised face, like all the time in the movie. He's, what is going on? What is that thing? Holy crap!
Yeah,
it's just great film.
Everybody
great
else is
American
like,
tale.
That's like the lightning god.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out.
This is
what?
This is how these things happen, Jack. What are you talking about? This is crazy. Yeah, it's great film.
I love it.
And then of course that brings us to our number one movie.
What a segue.
Number one movie. What would be the number one movie? Tombstone.
Hands down.
Completely.
Yeah.
Moreover, I would say that Tombstone is probably the best Western done in the last 50 years. Since the golden age of Westerns.
Still to this day I'm not a Westerns type dude. Like, I don't like Westerns. There's
I
just
grew
been
up
too
watching
much,
them.
There was a lot of strange overacting that always happened in Westerns I was never a fan of.
I get you on that.
I felt like the characters weren't necessarily relatable. Everybody was just, it was a quiet, small town where everybody's scared of the one bad guy with the gun. Like, it just
there are many like
until
that.
the good guy with the gun shows up.
There are many like that, but there are some that aren't. And I would say if I was making a list of like great Westerns, there's some movies I put on there. You could choose between Good, Bad, and the Ugly and Fistful of Dollars, whichever one you like better.
Yes.
Either one of those would be the epitome of that era of Western filmmaking. And it would be definitely on a if I was making a top 5 Westerns of all time list, they would be there. Stagecoach, just because of what it was at the time it was made, the type of things that they did to film that movie during the time frame they did it, all those stunts obviously are real because this is old school black and white. That's John Wayne jumping between horses because he knew how to do that. He was a stunt guy before he was an actor.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I mean, it would make sense.
He was a stunt guy. He may
that
have been
dude did all his own stunts.
He may have been going
for a
by.
while, didn't he?
Actually, even when he only had one lung, he was still doing his own stunts.
That's right.
Yeah, but he may have been going by Marion at the time that he did that. But still,
yeah.
Great work in Stagecoach. Another John Wayne movie, probably again one of the epitomes of Westerns, is the movie The Searchers.
I've never seen
where
it.
A young girl gets kidnapped and people live out in the middle of nowhere. Girl gets kidnapped. People are brought in to come and get her. In fact, there's a shot in what is it? A Million Ways to Die in the West, the McFarlane comedic Western movie, the comedy Western.
Yeah.
There's a shot where Liam Neeson's walking out of McFarlane's character's house. That's a direct copy of the shot from The Searchers. Also,
and I'm sure
in The Searchers,
they did that on purpose.
They purposely did that shot to make it look like The Searchers.
That's actually one thing that he's good at.
McFarlane
is great at homages.
Oh yeah, but that's like a quintessential. That would be one Western I'd say go and watch it just for the story elements in there, and realize that this is a movie that when it was made was one of the first of its kind to have this kind of trail movie following the trail of somebody that's been kidnapped and going to find them. And it actually inspired one of the greatest musicians of the modern era to make one of his most iconic songs.
Continue.
John Wayne's line throughout the movie, he says it multiple times. Anytime somebody says something that he doesn't completely agree with or thinks is stupid, his response is, "That'll be the day," which inspired Buddy Holly.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Buddy Holly went on record saying that inspired him to write his song.
Wow, that's cool.
So those are like quintessential Westerns, like some of the best Westerns ever.
Yeah.
These are ones that when you think of Westerns, you're thinking of Clint Eastwood as the man with no name. You're thinking of John Wayne.
Yeah.
You're thinking of these things. Tombstone is a retelling, of course, of the gunfight at the OK Corral, mainly.
It's somewhat centralized around it, but it's so much bigger and deeper than that.
Well,
that's
and what's funny about
good
it is
film.
Kevin Costner, around the same time, interestingly enough, put out a Wyatt Earp biopic film that dealt with Wyatt Earp's time in Dodge City and all the stuff he was doing beforehand.
Right.
And then dealt a little bit with the OK Corral fight, but it was more about Wyatt Earp's younger years and the horse thieving that he did, and the fact that he was a pimp and ran gambling halls and did all those things before he got to Tombstone. This just deals with what happens in Tombstone, Arizona, and the OK Corral fight.
It's really funny because didn't both those films come out in like the same year?
Roughly the same time.
Around the same time?
Within a couple of years.
Those two films are compared to each other constantly. I don't know
but
exactly what to say.
They're such different films.
They are. Basically, everybody goes, Tombstone is awesome, Wyatt Earp sucked. That's most of the time what you see.
I would agree.
I have not seen Wyatt Earp, so I don't know. But
there's two things that are really strikingly different about them. One of them is the fact that, again, you're dealing with a much larger portion of Wyatt Earp's life, which I think hurts the Wyatt Earp movie.
Totally, because you have to tell too much of a story in too little a time.
You do. And
Tombstone's like, I think the main cut, like the director's cut of it's like 2.5, 3 hours.
So
it's huge.
Kurt's cut. So anyway, it's a whole different story. But
I literally didn't know that until last week.
Actually, the guy that he brought in to direct after, so what happened was the first director, the original director, got frustrated with it and ended up leaving the production.
Yeah,
Kurt was going to direct it, but according to Directors Guild and Actors Guild rules, you can't put your name on the movie directing it if you take over directing it.
Right.
If you start directing it like Mel Gibson did with a bunch of his movies, or Kevin Costner did with a bunch of his movies,
right,
you can have that. But if you take over directing it, you can't put your name on it.
Which is weird. Why is that a rule?
It just has to do with
like whose name do you put on it? Do you have to have another director?
Alan Smithy, actually. Alan Smithy is the name that you can use. It is a industry name that is put on.
Yeah, but they didn't do that. They put George Cosmatos on it.
They did because they brought him in.
So
he was actually
brought in, but he didn't direct.
Technically, no, because he had done that once before on another movie.
What was that?
First Blood 2. Rambo.
Wait, he stepped in on First Blood Part 2?
Yes. Stallone took over the directing and production.
And that's why Kurt was like, I know you've done this before. Hey, man, I need you to do me a favor.
Stallone actually suggested it to him.
Oh, that's
because
great.
they'd been in a movie together, Tango and Cash.
That's right.
Yes, Stallone suggested using him because he said, George will never say a single thing while he's alive. He'll never say that he didn't direct it.
Well, he will
totally say he directed it and took care of it.
Wow.
He'll do whatever you need him to do. And he did. He made sure that it was taken care of. Kurt also ended up cutting 20 pages of script that was his character.
Oh, that's right. He was like earning the trust of the other actors or something
part
like that.
Part of it to earn the trust of the other actors, but part of it to also make his character more stoic, more, that
it gives you that
man
mysterious,
of mystery.
Yeah.
To give him that.
Even though they still, dude, do you imagine how hard to write an effective love story for a guy who barely has any lines?
And yet it's effective.
It totally is. It's freaking fantastic.
Effective.
Yeah.
Well, that's acting, sir. That's acting. But then you also have the fact
apparently it's also directing and writing too.
Yes. But then you also have the fact that Tombstone ended up with much better supporting actors. I mean,
I
can literally tell you right now.
Gallery of actors. There's so many.
Well,
of them.
I can tell you right now. There's only one that I can remember from Wyatt Earp, other than Kevin Costner's role.
Mm-hmm.
Only one other actor I can remember from that.
Who's that?
Who played the actor who played Doc Holliday?
Who was that?
Dennis Quaid.
Really?
Not a bad choice.
Okay.
But still not good enough for Doc Holliday.
There was so much that Kilmer did for Doc Holliday.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was insane.
First of all, he became the fastest draw on set.
Yeah, he went super method. He made sure that he was the fastest draw on set. He grew the damn mustache.
Actually, only one person did not grow the mustache. Everybody else's facial hair. There's one actor, I forget who it was. He was in a role previous and that didn't require him not to have a mustache, so he had to have a fake one. And he was actually made fun of by everybody on production. Everybody else's mustache on there was real.
Johnny Ringo, man, who I think his was fake.
No, his was real.
His was real?
Yes. Yes,
It wasn't Curly Bill. It was He was a prominent character. I remember him being kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
I just can't remember who it was. While you're looking that up.
Interestingly,
There's just so much rich story to
Willem Dafoe was almost cast as Doc Holliday.
That would have been interesting.
But because he was in what Kevin Smith considers the biggest superhero film of all time, directed by Martin Scorsese, by the way, a movie called The Last Temptation of Christ. Where Willem Dafoe played Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Who again, I think Kevin Smith is saying that Jesus Christ is the biggest superhero of all time, and that's the film Scorsese made.
Well,
I'm just saying what Kevin Smith has said, not what my opinion is. Okay, just make this clear.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, first off, Kevin Smith is definitely saying that as a Catholic.
Yes, Buddy Christ.
Well, first off, he's saying that as a Catholic, and second, look at every other major superheroes based on every other kind of, Greek god or something like that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ technically fits within that category.
Oh no, he does, definitely.
Your origin story, technically, depending on who you ask, may or may not be arguable, and it's pretty freaking extraordinary.
By the way, to add to what Val Kilmer, some of the stuff that Val Kilmer did,
it counts.
To add some of the stuff Val Kilmer did, he did the Southern aristocrat drawl.
I know they based it on Rhett Butler.
Rhett Butler was apparently based on the character of Rhett Butler as it was written in the original novel of Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
Was apparently based on the real life Doc Holliday. Because the real life Doc Holliday was a cousin of Margaret Mitchell, the writer of Gone with the Wind.
And she would have known.
Yeah.
So she based Rhett Butler on Doc Holliday, which means that Val Kilmer had a direct reference to Doc Holliday, give or take. That's fantastic.
But John Tenney was the actor that didn't get to grow his mustache out.
Oh.
John Tenney. I'll find out in a moment who he was. But yeah, you have Michael Biehn as Johnny Ringo, who's amazing.
Yes.
You have Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, who his lines are just insanely quotable for the movie. Billy Bob Thornton in an early role. Where
all ad-lib lines, by the way.
Yes, everything ad-libbed, and he just gets the shit smacked out of him. Smacked, by the way.
Yeah. That was actually half of the reason why he slaps him is because it's a power move instead of a punch.
Yeah.
Which, that's total bitch and psychological warfare right there.
It is. It really, really is.
It really is. He's just because he looks at him like, why are you slapping me?
Yeah, and the slapping.
What's with the slap? Why don't you fight me? No.
Actually, what makes sense if you know
it turns him into a little kid. It's fantastic.
If you know the history of Wyatt Earp and the real history of Wyatt Earp, because these are real people.
Yeah.
The events of Tombstone, like almost any movie that's made about real events, are exaggerated to an extent and made more theatrical.
Yeah.
Although there is a lot of truth in them. I'd say about 80% truth in most of what happened within the movie. But the real Wyatt Earp, his early years, again, the Kevin Costner movie does go into this. The real Wyatt Earp was a pimp. The entire Earp family, all of the Earp boys, they were pimps. Every wife that they had, every one of the blonde wives they had were all prostitutes.
All of them were prostitutes, yeah.
They owned gambling houses.
Yeah.
But back, which you also need to understand is back in the times of the Old West, the prostitute houses actually paid for most of the public works things that happened in the various towns.
Yep.
They actually paid for any schools that were going to happen, any groceries that were going to happen, any other things like that. The houses of prostitution paid for that stuff so that it would be a thriving community so they could continue to make money. And it's not like today where it was a maligned evil thing, an illegal thing. It was part of the culture and an important part of the culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for him to be, for Wyatt Earp's character to be slapping Billy Bob Thornton's character, he's treating him like he would treat a woman. You don't punch a woman, you slap a woman.
Wow.
He is treating him like he would treat a woman.
That's a whole different context to it.
Which, I mean, if you think about it, that's even more so the idea of, I don't even see you as a man. I see you as a woman, a womanly creature. I've just taken away all of your masculinity.
Socially and psychologically, that would make a lot of sense at the time. I mean, the guy wasn't necessarily a women's rights activist by any means.
Back in that time, but
it makes sense to do that, especially in that environment.
Yeah. John Tenney, by the way, was the character of Behan, the Sheriff Behan.
His mustache was fake.
He was the only fake one. Everybody else's facial hair was completely real.
Wow.
But you got Jason Priestley. You have Billy Zane.
That's right. Jason Priestley was in it.
Billy Zane.
He's a great character in that.
Who? Jason Priestley?
Jason Priestley,
yes, he is. Billy Zane's great. Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang, well known for his role in Avatar as the bad guy in Avatar. He's Ike Clanton.
Oh, wow. Whoa, that's Ike Clanton?
That's Ike Clanton, Stephen Lang. He also was recently in that movie where he's a blind guy and kids break into his house and he's, terrorizing them while they broke into his house. He's like a fighter and stuff.
No, I haven't seen that one. No, I haven't heard of that one.
That's Stephen Lang. Charlton Heston, of course, has a very small role.
I think his...
That was one of his last roles, actually.
It's one of his last roles, but I believe it was cut from the theatrical cut and then reinserted in the director's cut.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have Powers Booth as Curly Bill.
Yep.
You have the late, great Bill Paxton. Game over, dude.
Yep.
Or Game Over Man, sorry. Game Over Man as Morgan. And that's the thing is, you have Bill Paxton, and you have freaking Sam Elliott.
Oh, yeah.
And
Sam was fantastic, but Bill's Morgan's death scene is just it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. And then Kurt plays after that.
Yeah.
Just stumbling through the streets, covered in blood, screaming at anybody who comes near him. But the simple fact that Kurt Russell's mustache in this movie is right next to Sam Elliott's mustache.
Yeah, true.
Which apparently can dance according to Super Bowl commercials. It can dance on its own. Kurt Russell's mustache was even better than Sam Elliott's in this movie.
Oh, totally.
And if you can pull that off...
Well, I don't think it was better.
No, better.
You think it was better?
Hell yes, it was better.
It wasn't necessarily... Okay, I guess.
No, I mean...
I wouldn't compare one mustache to another mustache. I thought that they were on equal playing fields. I thought he was on par with Sam Elliott. You can't fuck with Sam Elliott's mustache, bro.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but you're wrong. Kurt Russell's was better.
But I'm wrong? I don't know, man. Here's the deal. If you hear the term Sam Elliott's mustache, that can be a band name. That's how good Sam Elliott's mustache is.
Okay, I get
Kurt
you.
Russell's mustache doesn't sound the same.
I get you. Okay. I'll give you that. But no, as far as a Western movie goes, as far as the movie goes, there's very little that's bad about that film. Everything hits great. Everything looks great. Again, he directed it. He stars in it. This is definitely, and the thing is, I don't know anybody that would disagree with us that this has got to be the best Kurt Russell movie ever made.
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. The best thing that he's been in.
Absolutely.
By far. And just
this is going to be like when a retrospective on all of Kurt Russell's films is done. This will be the top of the list.
Yeah, but for sure,
it will be what he is known for the rest of his life.
When they do the in memoriam of anything of him, the last shot will be a shot of him being Wyatt Earp.
Yep, absolutely,
and that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's our kind of take on Kurt Russell. I don't think anybody was really surprised that Tombstone would be the number one film.
Of course,
I wasn't.
Of course not. But that's one thing to like. I kind of thought that it was cool to do an episode like this because he's one of those unsung heroes, especially of the Xennial generation. Yeah. A lot of us are familiar with him and his work.
Yeah, definitely.
But he's just one of those guys you don't think about with all of the stuff you've seen. And we hope that
until you see something, you're like, damn, I like Kurt Russell.
Yeah, that's one of those. Yeah, that's kind of like the point of this is. He's one of those actors you don't realize is in a lot of good films, and they came out during the time that we grew up.
More importantly, the presence of him in those films. There's a lot of actors that are in films that are just like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that this person in this film. Everything Kurt Russell is in, he gives some kind of a extra piece to the movie. He gives it that flavor. It's important that he's in there.
Yeah.
I mean, even having him be in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, the second one, as Ego the Living Planet, it's like, who else would you have be Ego the Living Planet? Who else would you have be Chris Pratt's dad? That makes total sense. That makes complete sense. And for a dude to literally have that kind of level of power, I see Kurt Russell doing. I'm like, yeah, I get that. I totally get that. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the de-aging. You haven't seen Guardians 2, have you?
I have not.
They de-age him for the first scene of the movie.
Crazy.
Oh my God, it's probably the best de-aging I've ever seen.
Really?
Oh yeah, he literally looks like Overboard era Kurt Russell, and it's fantastic.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
So young.
That's amazing.
But anyway, this is our love of Kurt Russell talking about it. We will have other actors that we talk about like this because, quite frankly, movies mean a lot to us.
Yeah, and we hope that if you have spent all the time listening to this, you're inspired to go watch a couple of these films, man. Please do. You're not going to be disappointed.
Especially not if you have not seen Big Trouble in Little China. Please go see it.
That is totally required.
Such a great movie. And let us know what you think about it in the comments.
Yeah,
so
please do.
Mike, where can people listen to us if they're not already?
Well, you can listen to us at the XennialChronicles.com or ZenCron.com. That's where our main podcast is featured, but you can also find us on TuneIn and Google Podcast and Apple and Spotify and all the places. But the big one is our YouTube page.
Yes, we love YouTube.
Our full archive is on YouTube. Every single podcast we've done, we've got over a year's worth of podcasts now that we've done. This episode will be our 53rd episode.
Yep.
So we'll probably make another major mention when episode 100 comes out.
Yeah, last episode was basically our 1 year kind of episode.
Yeah.
So real quick at the end here, if you go to the YouTube page, please like, subscribe, click the bell icon because we need to click the bell,
please.
And then a quick shout out at the end to my one of our listeners, listener Alex, who also happens to be my nephew.
Yes.
Today is Alex's birthday.
Well, happy birthday, man!
We're recording, so happy birthday to you, sir. And
also follow us on Facebook.
Oh, please
and
do.
On Twitter at Xenchron, XenChron.
And then, that's it. Thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you again next week.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in, friends. The journey continues next week.